Hello, and welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Steve Van Eiderstein. Thank you all for joining me again today as I continue to go through and do the daily readings for James Allen's daily meditation over the course of this year. And we're closing in on the end of the year already. We're almost done with September. Only 3 months left, 3/4 of the way through the year. Pretty incredible. Actually, I feel like it has gone so incredibly fast. Um, but this has been a great experience for me. So this, of course, will be fresh to me and fresh to you, meaning that you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading. Because this will be the first time that I hear it or read it right here on this podcast with you. I think I might have said that twice today, but that's okay. So here we go. This is September 28th reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. Belief is an attitude of mind determining the whole course of one's life. Mm. Belief is the basis of all action, and this being so, the belief which dominates the heart or mind is shown in the life. Every man acts, thinks, lives in exact accordance with the belief which is rooted in his innermost being. And such is the mathematical nature of the laws which govern mind and mind that is absolutely impossible for anyone to believe in two opposing conditions at the same time. For instance, it is impossible to believe in justice and injustice, hatred and love, peace and strife, self and truth. Every man believes in one or the other of these opposites, but never in both. And the daily conduct of every man indicates the nature of his belief. Belief and conduct are inseparable, for the one determines the other. Wow. I love this reading. I think it's a powerful reading. It's a very revealing reading. If you use this as, if you accept this as truth, which I do, this entire reading I accept and believe is 100% reality and truth. So you can use this as a tool, right? Because what we talk about here is your belief guides your actions. So if you look at your actions, what do your actions say you believe? What do your actions tell you about yourself? You can learn a lot about yourself by just looking at what you do. Some of it's not always pretty. That's the hard part about it. This self discovery, this purification process takes a lot of humility. Well, it doesn't. I don't know if I like the way that sentence sounded. Takes a lot of humility, produces a lot of humility, more so because it takes a whole lot of honesty. And humility is usually the byproduct of being honest, right? So, all right, let's go through this line by line. Belief is an attitude of mind determining the whole course of one's life. I believe that my experience shows that to be true. Even though people will fight it, even though people think they can counteract it, eventually your beliefs will show in your actions. You know, eventually what you believe will be self-evident. It always happens. Always. And people put on good fronts, people put up good faces for a long time sometimes before their true motives show through or their true beliefs show through. It's actually kind of incredible when you think about it. Because people think it's a battle of willpower. And in some ways it is. Because but I've talked about this process a lot on this podcast. This isn't asserting your will to override your beliefs. That's exhausting and it's unsustainable. You just can't do it. Eventually, you'll just throw in the towel and usually act on the beliefs in a very um, large way, whatever that looks like. So it can work for a little bit, but you have to change the thinking behind the action and then change the belief behind the thinking because it goes belief, thinking, action, not the other way around. But it takes some work to whittle that back, whittle that down, right? But it works. So, belief is an attitude of mind determining the whole course of one's life. I believe in that principle. Yes, we want to talk about belief. I co-sign that one. I'll testify to that one with my own personal experience. So, all right, now for the main body. Belief is the basis of all action, and this being so, the belief which dominates the heart or mind is shown in the life. There we go. We were just talking about that. Belief is the base of all action because why do you take the actions you take? Right? Why do you do the things you do? Because there's a belief system that underlies that. There's reasoning. No one does anything for no reason. There is always a cause, there's always a reason for these things. It might not be immediately evident, though, to be fair. For some, it's hard to see why, because they've done it for so long, right? It's been something that it's just been a part of their life for a very long time. And a lot of people fall into that. I do it because that's what I do. And then they try it. And if you have them, if you ask them or suggest they change it and they actually take the suggestion, they're going to eventually come face to face with why they do that. Some people don't want to face that though. Some people just do not want to actually take the responsibility of their own lives. So, belief is the basis of all action, and this being so, the belief which dominates the heart of the mind or mind is shown in life. So, the biggest belief you have, which I believe boils down to fear or love, right? Are you going to be scared of this world or are you going to love this world? Because that's the root of everything. So, are you going to live a fear based life? Are you going to live a love based life? Because all other things spur from that. And eventually, when you switch that around, I'm just thinking about a part of the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. He talks about how if you make these commitments of truth or agreements, he calls them of truth, with yourself, eventually they will come up and purify your soul, right? When you operate on principles based in truth, it's a whole different thing. So, next thing he brings up, every man acts, thinks, lives in exact accordance with the belief which is rooted in his innermost being. And such is the mathematical nature of the laws which govern mind, that it's absolutely impossible for anyone to believe in two opposing conditions at the same time. So, it's interesting thought because I like that he goes into examples after this too. We'll get to that. But what he's saying here, every man acts, thinks, and lives in exact accordance with the belief which is rooted in his innermost being. That's the one that's rooted in the heart, like I was saying, right? So, And that's a proven if that's a proven statement, which I believe it is, I agree with it. It's been my experience, it's been what I've observed in other people's lives. If that is true, and such is the mathematical nature of the laws which govern the mind, which govern mind, that is absolutely impossible for anyone to believe in two opposing conditions at the same time. So, if you believe in love, if you believe this is a world where love is prevalent and there's goodness in God, God of your understanding, of course, everywhere, then you can't believe in fear. You can't believe in lack. You can't believe in anger and violence. It's either love or it's fear. It's God or it's self. We get into that. So, well, people are, I know for me, upon initially reading this right now, I have some things in my head. Well, I think, well, I believe it in this situation, in that situation. No, I don't. I have core beliefs, but I can say I try to understand I do, make compensations for that. But the thing is, I've tried to do that at jobs, and eventually it's exhausting because when I choose against my moral value system and my moral code, I always lose. That's the reality. I will always lose. It will wear me down. I'll get angry. I'll get resentful, and I'll leave. It's happened. I've left companies because they didn't align with me morally, and I couldn't keep crossing my own morals and my own belief system. So people think they can set that aside. You can't. You can only hold one of two things. And when you go and take actions against your own belief system, and I should also say here that you don't want to change, right? Let's say you believe in honesty and truth in all scenarios. Good. That's a good thing. Okay. And you work at a job where you have to omit information, lie, be deceitful in some way, maybe not outright, but forget to mention this, forget to mention that, right? So it goes against your belief. So the belief is honesty and truth, but you're taking actions that don't align with your beliefs, and you don't have any interest in changing your belief to align to your action, but you compromise it. It'll never work. You'll become miserable. So what I'm saying here is you can't still, but to go along with the point we're talking about right now, you can't hold two things. Justifiable lying and honesty cannot be held in the same time. I believe that. I know that to be true. For instance, it is impossible to believe in justice and injustice. Either this world is just, and you view it for that lens, or the entire world is unjust. And you view it for that lens, and you try to make yourself believe there's exceptions to each one. But it's a worldview that you hold. Hatred and love, right? Like you either believe that hatred's an acceptable quality or you believe that love is. Pretty straightforward. That one, it's both can't exist at the same time. Peace and strife, peace of soul, peace of heart, and strife, selfishness, that self centeredness, that thinking about only yourself in whatever situation you might be facing. Then the last one, self and truth, selfishness and self or God. Who will you serve? Self or truth, self or good, self or others, right? Who will you serve? Who do you believe in serving? You can only believe in one of them. Every man believes in one or the other of these of opposites, never in both. Pretty obvious to me, yes. The daily conduct of every man indicates the nature of his belief. Watch people's behaviors. Like I said, some people are choosing to act differently than their natural instinct or their belief system is telling them to act. I mean, everyone has to go through that in some capacity to learn and grow through. But just continue to watch, and you'll see what people are actually thinking. It's pretty incredible. And then believe it. See, this is another thing too. People will see things and they'll be like, well, they said they didn't think that, but their actions show they do. But I'm going to believe what they say. And I mean this wholeheartedly. And it's also unfortunate that talk is cheap. A lot of people in immediate moments believe they want to do differently. They want to have different understandings, different beliefs, a different value system. They truly do in that immediate moment when you're talking to them. And they believe they do in that moment. A lot of times. Those are the hardest liars to spot, the ones that actually believe their own bullshit. Excuse my language. Watch how people behave and continue to watch them. The daily conduct of every man indicates the nature of his belief. All right, now the end of it. Belief and conduct are inseparable, for the one determines the other. That's exactly what we were talking about this whole time. Belief initiates action. Action shows belief. It's incredible. Some of these things just seem so simple when you're talking about them, but to me, I know they were just such foreign concepts at one point. They really were. I didn't have any idea how to live differently than that, or that I could. I thought I was just born a certain way, and I was going to have to fight with myself the entire time, and it's just not true. Every belief you have is changeable, and we should strive to pursue truth and knowledge and spiritual laws and spiritual truths and the nature of the God of your understanding, the nature of nature, the nature of the universe, the nature of your creator, your all powerful, the nature of society, even if you want to, the nature of humanity. We need to be digging for these truths and these realizations. Beliefs and conduct are inseparable, for the one determines the other. So true. So, all right. Well, that's it for today. Thank y'all for joining me. Beautiful reading, right to the point, and a challenge almost. What do you believe? So, I'm looking forward to seeing how September rounds out. Thank y'all for joining me, and until next time, thanks.